Dear trading friends, it's time for an update video after the big crash we've just experienced once again, right? This time things happened a bit faster than before if we look at this area now. Yeah? Back then things were a bit calmer with small increases. But this price drop here, that really wasn't so nice. Despite everything, I actually entered a short position here during one of my live streams. I honestly can't remember when I placed it, but it got triggered and made almost 200% profit. I think it was 197 if I'm not mistaken. I posted it in the Telegram group anyway, but we also started a trading bot in the trading signal group, which hit its take profit, and at the same time, we opened a new long position down below. Other than that, there are still a few open losses, but also some profitable positions that are still in there, right? So what does it look like now? How could things continue from here? How should things continue? Yeah? Of course, the best thing for us would be if the price goes up again now. That would be the ideal scenario. There really are a few signs here that, for me personally, yes, make it likely that I would say we're heading upwards. One thing to look at are the liquidations, the liquidation heat map, not just this one here, but also around 93,000 US dollars, which is very significant. We also have something interesting at 96,000 US dollars, which is still very intriguing. Yes, and we shouldn't forget there's also a small CME gap here. This small CME gap from Friday, yes, last week, America could only join in again on Tuesday because they had a holiday on Monday. If we look at it, this happened on Sunday, right? And America, or rather the American exchanges, could only enter at this price here, and after that we dropped quite a bit. So for me, this is a very interesting price range. America was active here on the last day up to about this point. That means the US simply didn't participate in this price range. So that's the very first thing. For me, it's interesting that we might revisit this gap here, maybe for the Americans themselves. That would be the first point. And then we have more fair value gaps. I want to show these as well. This is exactly this area here. A huge fair value gap is present here. And then we have another one, which could at least indicate a short-term rise. There's also another fair value gap here. So what are fair value gaps? These are those long candles where the candle before and after didn't have any wick going back into the candle, right? These are the ones here. Normally, you always see that liquidity is picked up here, again, either upwards or downwards, but that's not the case here. You can also visualize this very easily, right? If we turn on the Big Beluga smart money concepts, you can see it. For example, that's a price of 91,915, super interesting. That's a very small one, 92,000, but we also have this very, very large fair value gap here, yes, which is at 94,376 US dollars. For me, that's a very, very interesting price level at the current time. Additionally, we've had this change of character here. That means we had this structural break to the downside here, which is usually, especially with such a strong volume candle, a sign that you might see a retest and then a further move down. We didn't do that here. It doesn't have to happen, but still, because of this fair value gap, it's super interesting as it could allow us to move up again. Because what happened again? Think back a little. The whole market was ultra bullish again as we were moving up here, and suddenly you couldn't short anymore, and suddenly everything was almost fine again, right? I only noticed a few people who actually went short there. Luckily, we did go short and were able to take good profits. And now, when everything is very, very bearish again, at this point, I'm actually a bit bullish. Why am I a bit bullish here? Because we have these signs up here. But what else do we have? And we mustn't forget, if I turn everything off again and remove this, we have a structural break on a smaller time frame. So on the 4-hour, 1-hour chart, we've definitely seen that. And what do I mean by that? We have here this upward structure that we had here. Yes, we broke it to the downside with this break here. Yes. So with this area here, these were our lows, or rather these were our lows. We have now broken through them to the downside. For me, yes, I am now ready, even though I still have a few long bots open in the signal group, to say, I'll now watch to see how far we go up. Will we reach the 0.5 or the 0.618 Fibonacci, maybe even the 0.786, which would be very, very interesting for me here, and then see a move downward? Yes, that's what I want to prepare for. Of course, I can't say exactly right now because we always have to reanalyze the market at the current moment. Of course, we could also revisit this area here because then you can see that we're actually playing out this whole flag more or less perfectly if we're a bit patient. What does it look like now? But if you don't know the Fibonacci trading strategy, check out my channel and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, watch this video here, the simplest trading strategy, and you're not using it yet. Or check out Learning to Trade Step by Step to Becoming a Pro Trader. I have an entire playlist where I show you in detail how I approach this. Because I already analyzed for myself yesterday that if we fall down here and have a structure break, this will become a super interesting area to enter new short positions. That means I now take this high and connect it to the current low. And you can already see here that we have some very interesting price levels. And at the current moment, it would look like this. We would say the 0.5 Fibonacci would be the first rejection in the area at 92,920, then 94,000, and the 0.786 at 95,762, which is also almost at the CME gap. I want to show you something else. We have a lot of liquidity right here at 96,000. We have a lot of liquidity here at 93,000 US dollars. And if I go back now, yes, that would be in that area. But I'm also very, very precise when it comes to Fibonacci, because after the drop down and the move back up, we've already hit a Fibonacci level here. So for me, which Fibonacci level have we not touched yet? That would be this last high here. We're looking at the 4-hour chart here. That means if we look at it now, right at the 0.786 level where the CME gap is, that could become a target level for me where I'll pay closer attention to the market and see what happens there. So at this point in time, the low and the high make these price levels here very, very interesting to me because of the fair value gaps, because of the Fibonacci level, because of the liquidation that now lies above us on the smaller time frames, and also because the US wasn't able to participate up here on the way down. That's the current situation. But we also shouldn't forget that there's still plenty of liquidity lying further down. Unfortunately, right, now I'm going to switch to level 3 data. There you can see these liquidations broken down even more clearly, reaching all the way up to $96,000. I think if I switch to a 1-month view, we'll also see the 86,000 US dollar liquidation, which really stands out brightly. Unfortunately, that's present here, and now I'd like to share a bit of my theory about it. We can also take another look at the 1-month view here. These 86,000, they're really something. So from my perspective, the question isn't if we'll reach that, but when we'll reach it. And of course, that could already happen now. Do we see that in here? Exactly, that's it. So at 86,196, just on Binance alone, we have a huge cluster of 160 million without even including all the other exchanges. I can quickly click on symbol, then go to 1 month here. Let's just let it load for a moment. But I want to take another look at those 86,000 with you and share a theory of mine here. That would be quite a bit further down. That would be exactly this price range, which isn't all that nice. But this is what I mean here. So overall, right at 86,196, $500 million US dollars are currently pooled on the exchanges. And that's just at this one price, without adding everything together. That's of course very, very interesting. So, and now we have two possibilities, as I see it, that are currently becoming interesting. Right now, we're dropping back below the flag with this 4-hour candle. Not so great at the moment, but we have to accept it. So what would be interesting now? If we now say, okay, we pick up this liquidity here down at 86,000, which is also very, very interesting, and then we might rise again. People might say, now we've had a retest and it's going further down. Bear flag retest, it's going much further down. But this fake out happens when everyone starts to short or even starts shorting here already so that we can pick this up again and then maybe target these levels up here. Because I don't think we'll just leave all of this behind and go straight down. Instead, I think we could fish all of this out first. It doesn't have to happen. But if we are going to go lower, then we'll actually go lower after that. So my current assessment is that we'll pick this up again, have a little fake out. And then if we go further down, that's how it would play out. And then we have target levels down here that we definitely need to pay attention to, which could still be reached. That's been on my mind ever since the structural break here. But of course, we also have to adapt, because it could be that if we do move up now and then have another retest and a breakout, don't forget one thing. No matter what, even though I've been talking very bearishly, right? Let's move up a bit, and I want to visualize this a bit more for you. We're going in here as well. I think 3 months. Let's take a quick look at 3 months. But if we go in here 3 months, then there's really a lot of liquidity starting to build up above us. And you can see that here, for example, on a 3-month basis, we have about 3 billion accumulated below us, up to a price of 80,000 US dollars. But above us, it goes up to about 6, 7, or 8 billion, which is quite a lot above us. That's why it will be interesting to see if we can still reach that. Take a look at this cluster here as well. At 98,000 US dollars, there is an incredible amount. And here I'm only talking about Binance, okay? Because here I can go a bit deeper thanks to the posted leverage liquidation map that we see on the side here. As I said, we have 2 target levels. At the moment, I would also be a bit cautious with taking on positions that are too strongly long or too strongly short. We'll see what the decision will be. What I personally expect now in order to get a reversal, I'm expecting a bullish divergence, which is what interests me. When could that appear? We don't have it yet on the 1-hour chart because for that we need a lower price, but the RSI hasn't dropped that far yet. A bullish divergence really becomes interesting when we're looking at the 4-hour chart. This now means, yes, that we will consolidate for a longer period. The RSI can recover, then another dip down, the RSI doesn't follow, and that could be a sign of a reversal. We really have to be careful at the moment. You know, the geopolitical situation is still present right now. And if we take a look at the large orders and whale trades, at this point in time, we really don't have that much order volume above or below us when it comes to Bitcoin. You can see here the big players are overall keeping things a bit quiet. Normally we have huge clusters, really massive clusters, lighting up somewhere. But right now those are actually not really present. If I now say, for example, orders over $1 million, then that's all getting less and less, right? We're getting less and less insight here into what we have in there, $5 million. That means it's already getting pretty thin. Someone has 5 million sitting between 81,000 and 80,000. But you know this from my other videos. Normally such clusters exist and are also larger. That means at the current moment, people, especially the big players, are keeping a low profile. We can also see that at 86,100, the level we talked about earlier, someone has currently put down 50 million. Below that, another 72 million, right? So that's the interesting cluster at the moment. Here as well, another 50 million. But that's the cluster I see next if we go further down, and then we could possibly form this bullish divergence. If that's not the case and we really break downward and go lower, then that's how it is. This will just remain here. But if I look at the RSI now on the 4-hour chart, we were at 15, now we're at 27. Yes, we're already at a fairly low level if we compare it to the past. Yes, where we are at this point in time. Of course, that can change at any time, but yes, we shouldn't ignore the fact that we could still see a bigger recovery here. On the daily chart, it looks a bit worse. There's still some room there. That could actually bring us down to 86,000. But if I have new updates, if I see new positions for myself that I will take, of course, I'll let you know. In the Signal group, you also get all the information, always up to date, of course. You'll find the link in the video description. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, liking, sharing, and don't forget, ciao, ciao.